In this video, I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how you can solve an equation with a variable on one side. So I like to start by dividing my equation along the equal sign. So it distinguishes what is my left side and the right side. Now every move that I make, I have to make sure that I do the same operation on the left as I do on the right. So my first step for number one is going to be to divide by 2. The reason I'm dividing by 2 is because we have a product of 2. I'm multiplying by 2 here. So if I go ahead and I divide by 2 on the left-hand side, I must also divide by 2 on the right-hand side. So the 2's on the left simplify to 1. And what remains is going to be this x minus 6 is equal to, and then 26 divided by 2 is going to be 13. Now, the opposite of subtracting by 6 is going to be to add 6. So just like I did before, whatever operation I do on the left, I must also do on the right. So 13 plus 6 is going to be 19, which means that x must be 19 to make this equation true. I can check this by taking 19 and plugging it in to my original equation. So 19 minus 6 is 13, and 2 times 13 is 26. So I know that I have the right answer. Looking at number 2, I'm going to start the same way, divide along the equal sign. And my first move is going to be to subtract 1. You might notice here that you're also dividing by 3. So you could also multiply 3. That would be another option that you could do. You have to be careful though, because when we multiply 3, we have to do it to the entire side, which means that you would be distributing that 3 in for each term. I think that causes me one extra step, so I prefer not to do that. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 rather than multiply by 3. So if I subtract 1 from the left-hand side, I must also subtract 1 from the right-hand side. So this becomes t divided by 3 because this is going to be 0. 1 minus 1 is 0, is equal to, and then a negative 2 minus 1 is going to be a negative 3. So now I see here that my last move is going to be to multiply by 3 because the opposite of dividing by 3 is to multiply. So what I do to one side, I must also do to the other side. I'm drawing arrows to kind of show you the direction of my work. My 3's here cancel out, simplify to 1. And I get t is equal to a negative 3 times 3, which is negative 9. Moving on to number 3, I have 1 minus 8x is equal to 17. My first move is going to be to go ahead and divide along that equal sign. And I'm going to start by moving this 1. So a positive 1, the opposite of that is going to be a negative 1. What I do from one side, I got to do to the other side. My 1's cancel out, leaving me a negative 8x is equal to 16. Now, what I'm doing here is multiplying by this negative 8. So the opposite of multiplying by negative 8 is going to be to divide by negative 8. 16 divided by negative 8 is going to be negative 2. So x must be equal to negative 2. Number 4. I'm going to go ahead and look at this, my operations. So I have a 4 times x plus 9. I'm going to start by moving the 9. And I'm going to go ahead and subtract 9. What I do to one side, I must do to the other side. That's going to go ahead and cross out. And I'm left with 4x is equal to a negative 15 minus 9 is negative 24. This 4 times x, the opposite of multiplying by 4, is going to be to divide by 4. And negative 24 divided by 4 is going to be a negative 6. Now I haven't been doing this with every problem, but again, the point of this exercise is to figure out the value of x that makes this true. So at any time, I can take my answer and I can plug it into my original equation. 4 times negative 6 plus 9 is equal to a negative 15. So 4 times negative 6 is a negative 24, plus 9 you can verify that yes, in fact, that is equal to 15, so I know I found the right answer. So feel free to go back and check your answers as you find them. All right, number 4. So -4 is equal to x minus 6 divided by 5. Right now you can see that everything on the right-hand side is being divided by 5. So the opposite of dividing by 5 is to multiply 5. Now this is kind of similar to what we did in number 2, except for in number 2, we were only dividing the t by 3. Whereas in number 4 here, what we're doing is we are dividing everything by 5. So the opposite of dividing everything by 5 is going to be to multiply everything by 5. And what I do to one side, I must also do to this other side as well. So the 5's here on the right cancel, and I'm left with x minus 6 is equal to, and then 5 times -4 is -20. X minus 6 means that the opposite of minusing that 6 or subtracting that 6 is going to be to add 6. -20 plus 6 is going to give me a -14. So x is equal to a -14. Last but not least, again, I'm not sure if I said this in the beginning, I could distribute this 6, or because I am multiplying by 6, I can divide by 6. I think I am going to go ahead and show you an example of how you can distribute. Because in number 1, I did not. So you look back at number 1, it shows you a different way to solve this kind of problem. I'm going to go ahead and distribute that 6, so I get 6x minus 6 is equal to 12. 6x minus 6 equal to 12. The opposite of subtracting 6 is to add 6. So 12 plus 6 is going to be equal to 18. My 6's cancel to 0. So 6x is equal to 18. Last step, 6 times x, the opposite of multiplying by 6, is going to be to divide by 6. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side always. And what remains is x equals 3. The end.